Hi, today I'll be talking about a professional career in your early 20s. So, starting my career, I'm currently 24, and when I started as a paralegal, I was 22, which was very intimidating, especially when you're surrounded by people with could be decades of experience or just a little bit more experience than you. So I'll be sharing the three lessons I learned when entering the legal profession. With the little experience that I had, you know, there was I had to adapt to different personalities and generations and overcoming learning curves. So yeah, when I started, roughly around 2022, I had about like minimal experience. Like I only had customer service experience, and I felt like I didn't belong because I didn't have that experience that most people did. And according to the National Association of College and Employers, many recent graduates feel unprepared when entering the workforce, and I definitely could relate to that. um, it made me realize that these feelings are very common. I also learned to ask feedback and questions when I was in the workplace to improve my everyday tasks and just communication, um, instead of like just pretending that I knew everything. Um, Another challenge was communication, especially since I worked for my first job, I had worked for a smaller firm which had only two attorneys and then lots of paralegals. And that's kind of where the challenge was, because I did kind of bump heads with people that, some were very direct, some kind of like weren't very direct. Some had very strong personalities and others were like super helpful. So yeah, I was just having to learn how to like communicate and adjust to those types of communication styles and personalities. Yeah, and the Pew Research Center reports that today's workforce includes multiple generations working together, which definitely I was the second youngest in that law firm at the time. And I think I was like 21, I believe, when I first started there, and the other person was like 20. So yeah, and then the oldest person was probably in his 60s. He was like the older attorney. But yes, but learning like different communication styles was very important. Listening carefully, observing everybody, and like knowing their preferred communication style was very helpful. And also acting or asking questions and acting very professional. Um, Another challenge was the learning curve for me, like legal terminology. At that time, I was still in the paralegal program at Skyline, and I was basically taking only like the most basic classes, and I didn't really when I got that job, I had gotten the job before I had right when I had started the program. So it was a really big learning curve, like learning court filings, legal terminology, deadlines, just there's different legal fields, so there's different things that needs like rules and all that stuff. Yeah, and then the American Bar Association emphasizes that attention and detail is one of the most important skills as a legal support um, person, and that is definitely true. Attention to detail is very, very important. Even like a small like wrong name and like wrong spelling in like somebody's name, or like punctuation isn't there, the court will reject a lot of things if it's not too standard. So that's definitely one mistake that I had made, that I was like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm triple checking my double checks, like lots and lots of double checking. But over time, responsibilities seemed like easy that I once thought was like really hard. And it became very like part of my routine. And now that I look back, I can clearly see how much more confident I am and capable of doing the things that I couldn't do back when I was when I was an intern. And I have about now like 3 going on to 4 years of experience as a paralegal. And I definitely have a lot more understanding. And it small things that I used to think were like super hard, it's super easy. And so, but to conclude, yes, you know, my career as a legal assistant and slash paralegal in my early 20s taught me a lot of things, like having confidence, being able to adapt, resilience, the importance of continuously learning, and just never be afraid to ask questions. But it's a really good career. It's really rewarding when you help people, because I was in the immigration field, and so being able to like translate something was just very helpful to the other person and my attorney. And also another thing, age may shape first impressions, but at the end of the day, your willingness to learn and your work ethic really just shows how people will treat you, and truly defines how successful you'll be in your career. And thank you for listening to my speech.